The European Committee of the Regions is the European Union's assembly of local and regional representatives that provides sub-national authorities with a direct voice within the EU's institutional framework. Established in 1994, the Corps was set up to address two main issues. First, about 3/4 of EU legislation is implemented at local or regional level, so local and regional representatives needed to have a say in the development of new EU laws. Second, there were concerns about a widening gap between the public and the process of European integration involving the elected level of government. Closest to the citizens was one way of closing the gap. History. Within the European Union, local and regional authorities have lobbied for an increased say in EU affairs. This resulted in the creation by the Maastricht Treaty of the European Committee of the Regions, and provision for member states to be represented in the Council of the EU by ministers from the regional governments. Principles. There are three main principles at the heart of the committee's work. Subsidiarity. This principle, enshrined into the treaties at the same time as the creation of the Corps, means that decisions within the European Union should be taken at the closest practical level to the citizen. The European Union, therefore, should not take on tasks which are better suited to national, regional or local administrations. Proximity. All levels of government should aim to be close to the citizens, in particular by organizing the work in a transparent fashion, so people know who is in charge of what and how to make the views heard. Partnership. Sound European governance means European, national, regional and local government working together. All four are indispensable and should be involved throughout a multi-level governance decision-making process. Scope. The treaties oblige the European Commission and the Council of the European Union to consult the Committee of the Regions whenever new proposals are made in areas that have repercussions at regional or local level. Outside these areas, the Commission, Council and European Parliament have the option to consult the Corps on issues if they see important regional or local implications to a proposal. The Corps can also draw up an opinion on its own initiative, which enables it to put issues on the EU agenda. The Corps has gained the right to approach the European Court of Justice now that the Treaty of Lisbon has entered into force following ratification by all EU member states on the application of the principles of subsidiarity and proportionality. Composition. The Corps has 350 full members and the same number of alternate members, the number from each EU country roughly reflecting the size of its population. Its members are locally and regionally elected representatives including mayors, regional presidents and councillors. The numbers per country are as follows. Internal structure. President, elected for a 2.5-year term at the plenary assembly. The President guides the committee's work, chairs plenary sessions and is the Corps' official representative. Marku Markula, member of the Espoo City Council, is the current president elected on the 12th of February 2015. List of presidents. First vice president. The first vice president is also elected by the plenary assembly for 2.5 years and represents the president in the latter's absence. Karl-Heinz Lambert, president of the Parliament of the German-speaking Community of Belgium, was elected first vice president of the European Committee of the Regions on the 12th of February 2015. Bureau. The Bureau is the executive body of the Corps. It comprises 63 members. The President, First Vice President, 28 Vice Presidents, the Presidents of the Corps political groups and 28 other members from the national delegations, enabling it to reflect national and political balances. The Bureau generally meets 7 or 8 times a year to draw up the Corps' policy program and instructs the administration on the implementation of its decisions. Plenary Assembly. The members of the Corps meet in plenary session in Brussels 6 times a year to discuss and adopt opinions, reports and resolutions. Core commissions. The Core structures its work by means of 6 thematic commissions which specialize in topical areas: CIVEX, citizenship, governance, institutional and external affairs; COTER, territorial cohesion policy; Econ, economic and social policy; ENVE, environment, climate change and energy; NAT, natural resources and agriculture; SEDEC, culture, education and research. They prepare draft opinions and hold conferences and seminars focused on their areas of competence. Each commission has approximately 100 members and is supported by a secretariat within the administration. A special commission for financial and administrative affairs is also established to assist the Core Bureau. Political groups. The Core has 5 political groups: the Progressive Alliance of Socialists and Democrats, the European People's Party, the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe, the European Alliance and the European Conservatives and Reformists. The members of each political group meet before major meetings to adopt common positions. Conference of Presidents. The Core President, First Vice President, Presidents of the political groups and the Secretary-General gather within a Conference of Presidents before each plenary session and other important meetings, with the aim of reaching a political consensus on strategic questions. National delegations. The Core also comprises 28 national delegations. Members meet in the national delegations before plenary sessions and other events to discuss common positions. Secretary-General. The Secretary-General is appointed for 5 years by the Bureau. As head of the Core administration, the Secretary-General must not hold a political mandate. He is responsible for implementing President's and Bureau decisions and the smooth running of the Core administration. Jiri Berianek is the Core's current Secretary-General since the 1st of September 2014. Secretariat-General. The Secretariat-General consists of 5 directorates, members and plenaries: Legislative Work 1, Legislative Work 2, Communication, Human Resources and Finance. The Logistics and Translations directorates are jointly managed with the European Economic and Social Committee. The total number of Core staff in 2015 was 527. Budget. Compared to the substantially increased role of the Core in the global EU framework, as indicated by the Lisbon Treaty, the Core remains a lean and very efficient organization, which makes it the 3rd smallest EU institution in terms of budgetary needs. The Core's 2013 budget represents only 0.06% of the total EU budget. Its 2014 budget breakdown according to purpose of expenditure is as follows: 39.7% consultative works, 33% translation, interpretation and print, 30% administration and functioning. The Core's 2015 budget was 89.2 mil. EUR. Although all Core expenditure formally falls under Heading 5 of the EU budget, as is the case for the European Parliament budget, a substantial part of its budget relates to non-administrative expenditure. Most obvious examples are all Core expenses related to its members and the political activities, work, opinions. The European Commission, Council of Ministers and European Parliament consult the Core when drawing up legislative texts on areas affecting local and regional authorities. The draft texts are forwarded to the relevant Core Commission. A rapporteur is then appointed to draw up the committee's opinion. This draft opinion must be adopted by the Core Commission before being discussed at the plenary session. Once it has been approved in plenary, the official opinion is sent to all the European institutions and published in the official journal of the European Union. Resolutions enable the committee to express its view on important and topical issues. The Core's political groups are 32. Core members can draw up resolutions. studies and other publications. The core produces studies on various aspects of the local and regional dimension of the EU. They are drawn up with the help of outside experts. The core also produces publications for both the general public and for regional and local players, aimed at explaining its activities and outlining current political developments. Events. As a meeting place for regions and cities, the core organizes conferences, seminars and exhibitions in cooperation with local and regional partners and other EU institutions. Once a year, during the European Week of Regions and Cities, the core welcomes to its headquarters thousands of participants who take part in lively discussions or seek partners to collaborate on joint projects. Key dates: 1992, Maastricht Treaty. EU leaders decide to set up the Committee of the Regions as a consultative assembly which will provide regions and cities with a voice in the EU decision-making process and act as a direct link between Brussels and the citizens. The treaty makes it mandatory for the European Commission and the Council of Ministers to consult the core on key areas of regional concern. Core members are to be nominated by the governments of member states and will serve for 4 years. In March 1994, the core holds its first plenary session in Brussels. 1995, EU enlargement. The core's membership increases from 189 to 222, following the accession of Austria, Finland and Sweden. 1997, Amsterdam Treaty, extends the core's remit to cover around 2/3 of the EU's legislative proposals. The treaty also makes it possible for the committee to be consulted by the European Parliament. 2001, Nice Treaty, underlines the democratic legitimacy of the core by requiring that its members are elected or politically accountable to an elected regional or local assembly. Caps the number of members at 350. 2002-03, Convention on the Future of the EU. Core members take part in the convention responsible for drafting an EU constitution. The text expressly recognizes the role and powers of local and regional government. It also gives the core the right to go to the Court of Justice of the European Communities to challenge EU laws which do not comply with the principle of subsidiarity. May 2004, EU enlargement. Number of core members increases from 222 to 317, following the accession of 10 new member states. February 2006, new term of office. The core starts a new 4-year term. Its political priorities include boosting the role of local and regional authorities in line with the Lisbon Strategy for jobs and growth, strengthening cohesion and solidarity, and spearheading the Communicating Europe, Going Local campaign to bring the EU closer to its citizens. January 2007, EU enlargement with the accession of Bulgaria and Romania. The number of core members rises from 317 to 344. December 2007, Lisbon Treaty. The Lisbon Treaty confirms the core's right to appeal to the Court of Justice of the European Communities to safeguard its prerogatives and the subsidiarity principle, a right already recognized by the Convention on the Future of the EU. This new entitlement will strengthen the core's political role, by enabling it to act more effectively on the EU stage for the benefit of regional and local authorities. The Lisbon Treaty extends the term of office of core members from 4 to 5 years. July 2013, EU enlargement. Number of core members increases from 344 to 353, following the accession of Croatia.